So let's come to courtship. Let's come to courtship. And I have, courtship is that period when you accept and you say we're in a relationship. So it's the period when the relationship became official to marriage. So that tells you courtship is a relationship that has a focus of marriage. There is general dating whereby you just want to know each other, and then there's a place you reach and say, we can take this thing to the next level. You've ever heard that language? That next level now, the day you say sour, you've begun courtship. Are we together? Now, what you need to understand, marriage does not begin during the wedding. Especially when your courtship matures into a wedding, your marriage will begin from your courtship. Allow me to explain. So during courtship, the things you are fighting about, the insecurities of Karo and Jemo, they will still be transferred into marriage if they are not dealt with. Are we together? So marriages don't go wrong. The red flags you saw in courtship, some of them will manifest as realities in. So marriage is the legal permission to now live together and go beyond courtship and now begin to be partners. So if there was a problem in your courtship, be rest assured, marriage is not a deliverance service where you bring a wicked man or a wicked woman, put them in a white suit or a white gown, and then you expect a powerful pastor to change them. It does not happen. You bring a womanizer, we will just give you permission to live with the womanizer. You bring a woman who's a player, we just give you permission to live with her. And you cannot change anyone. If your name is not Jesus, you can't change anyone's behavior. The only thing that changes in marriage is our waistline. Na sometimes tunafanana. Your waistline will change the day you become pregnant. My waistline will change because I'm well fed and I'm relaxed. Otherwise, character, habit, it takes the intervention of God. So don't think you are Jesus. Don't think you can drag someone and change them. And that's why when you go healed and very sober, you will detect things very early. On the flip side, no one is perfect. Okay? If you're looking for a perfect man, please wait for rapture. We will receive glorified bodies. That's the day we'll see perfect men. But again, never lower your value guard. You need to have values and say, these are non-negotiables. Simple, genuine, integrity. A person that keeps their word. Wachana fashion na kutesa. Values should not be compromised. The moment your values become an audit center. If today you say, I can't deal with a liar, and you send someone is a perpetual liar, run. Because you either bend your values to accommodate a liar, or you stick to your values and end up getting what your values communicate. Am I making sense? So for me, it is values, then other things. Mambo ya color, beauty, those ones, sidebands, mambo beards, beard gang. Those ones are, unaona vile hiyo keki imekuja, imewekwa to popcorns, uto ni tuwa kurembesha. Otherwise, people have focused on the icing and they have compromised on the baking. So the quality of what they get is so pathetic. And deep down, they could tell they saw the red flags. So courtship is a very good place. And remember this. Before you go public on Facebook, please, first of all, know each other. Si mujuane Monday, Wednesday status may change in a relationship, Friday to picture, and then Sunday mmekuja meambia pasi, hii mwaka inauliza ni restoration. Mi yangu ilikuwa establishment. Ata mama ndio huyu. And then after 2 months, unaanza kudiscover this is not the guy. And then now you begin to date on the platform of what will people say? Boss, you don't marry because of people. And I tell you, if you come and tell me we were in this courtship and it broke, I will bless both of you. I'll just give you wisdom to break as a believer. And one of them is to forgive each other. Are we together? So that now, you don't stand on the altar because of what will people say. You stand on the altar because God has affirmed this thing. So before you make it public, I dated my wife for more than 6 months. No one even knew. Even my closest of pastors, nobody. It's only my young sister. I was very keen. Some of us, you get someone, mwezi ya tatu mwapeleka home. Even your mom alizoea. No, okay. Asikia karibu kijana, usikie kwa nyumbani Wewe tosheka, nilizoea. So take time, okay? This one I'll tell you, some of these things have to be chini ya maji so that you get to know the person for yourself before you hear other people's opinion. Otherwise, all of us have opinions. And in that time of chini ya maji, make sure you ask these 5 questions. These are mandatory. Whether you are the one dating or being dated. Question number 1, who are you? Who are you? That is the question of identity and personality. Who are you? Because if a person does not know who they are, then ideally they have the ability to become who they are not. Any description outside there will suit them. So let them. And who are you is not what do you do. That's a different. It's not your career. So who are you? Identity. What keeps you in life? What are your values? What is your focus? In this life, are you just breathing and living? Do you have a sense of purpose? That question has to be asked. And you don't listen to it with your heart. You listen to it with your ears. In courtship, allow your heart to follow your head, not your head to follow your heart. That's the wrong order. You go with your mind. You analyze. You're in a lab. You take all the data because your decision should be informed. Are we together? So the first one is, who are you? Identity. When a man walks with a wrong identity, that's a dangerous person. That person can be manipulated. That person can become anything because no one told them who they are. And identity, you discover it by self. And there are people who have false identities. They are good worshippers, but they have anger issues. So worship is what they do, but the real them, they have anger issue, they are impatient, they are bitter. So you need to go beyond what a person does. Are we together? Titles are not important. Identity is important. Because even the language of purpose, the language of destiny, is connected to identity. You can't become who God wants you to be until you know who you are. Moses had to come to a place and know that I'm a deliverer. And after that, that's when God partnered with him. Number 2 is the question of whom are you? Whom are you? His relationship with God. Genuine relationship. Genuine relationship. Accountability. Does he have a spiritual father? You know, many people tell you, me, I'm spiritual, but I believe faith is personal. Run. Because even witches are spiritual. Are we together? Whom are, and this one I'm saying they are not, because you reach a place, and I tell you, carrying the spiritual burden of a family is a little bit hard. I know men that give offering to their wife and children, but they never go to church. And you come to church and the preaching was powerful and you wish, I wish so-and-so was here. He didn't hear it. So it's like you are the only one who's changing. But the one that needs to hear that message never had it. One of the most romantic and memorable things you'll have in your life is holding hands with your husband or wife and praying together in church. It is one of the most powerful things that can happen to a couple. Are you getting me? So the question of whom are you? I can say a lot on this because knowing God aligns so many things in a person's life. There are things that no psychiatrist can change. It just takes the knowledge of God. And knowing God for yourself, it aligns many things. It aligns many things. There are things we can do, we can pray for you, but we can never serve God and worship God for you. So this is very personal. And I know sometimes the biological clock ticks. I know sometimes the pressure comes in. Sometimes you get heartbroken in the house of God. And you feel it's better even these drunkards outside here. And I'm not saying they are amazing husbands who are drunkards, by the way. Because when you begin to deal with marriage, you discover it is governed by wisdom and maturity. You can have a man speaking in tongues, but he's a child. You can't reason out. Everything is the devil. And he becomes very boring. He doesn't want to accept anything. And you can have a lady also who prophesies and think you're a useless man because you've never had a vision. And who wants to compare you with the pastor? Everything he says is, when a pastor mnakuanga compare divi. And you begin to feel, sungeoa huyo pastor. Anyway, I know some of the things that hurt Christian marriages. And I came to a place whereby I decided to date a lady who was not born again. Jesus. I tell you she was good. But good is not godly. Very focused. Career ladder. Visionary. Values. Top notch. She will even tell me, ukitoka kesha nipitie West. Genuine, mimi naenda kukunywa. And she told me, mimi usikae nitoa kwa Jack Daniels. Na mimi sitai kutoa kwa JC. So kulikuwa na JD na JC. Are you getting it? Na akasema mimi sikule nita change, let me change on my own. Na akasema I will not even change to make you happy. And you can see the genuineness. Sasa umetoka kuplayiwa na mtu wa church. So unaona mtu wa dunia. Na anakuambia ako dunda, unamtoa dunda, unampeleka home, unaona ameenda home. Hi. And something told me, atairi huyu. So one day I went to a mission. The fire fell. Was supposed to have a lunch date. The Holy Ghost moved in a queen's voice. Up to date, I still receive testimonies of that day. And I got late. I left the meeting at 8. So I called her. I said, hey, Maze, Paule, I'm late. Nini. And she was in a club drinking. Si amekasirika. Kila mtu anaendeanga ile kitu inamcomfort. Akaniambia, me by the way, wewe fika town tuongee. So nikakuta amekunywa vizuri. Nikamwambia, by the way, the meeting was powerful. The presence of God just fell. And she told me, by the way, don't give me that crap. You would have told me we are not doing this lunch. Why tell me you have wasted my time? Nini. Kitu ikaniambia, boss, that crap is your life. Nikajua, you may have everything, but this crap, quote unquote, this is the most important thing. Because all my life, this is what I do. So do you know, my wife knows. Friday, anajuanga, mse anaingianga huku saa 8. Hata kuna time ananulizanga, Holy Ghost alishuka. Now you can imagine if I got married to that one. Yeah? Every night ingekuwa, it's a very crappy night. You don't control the spirit. Even today, my wife maybe is watching. Na anaweza niuliza, hey, it was powerful. Mimi ndangu anajua utakuja huku 10. Nilikuwa naona kanaweza shuka. She knows that this is my life. And what a joy. Are you getting me? So there are those small things that begin to tell you where I can't compromise. Up to number 8, tick. E9 na 10, wacha tu nikuwe patient na Mungu. You'll get someone who has 9 out of 10 on value radar. You compromise there. Here, that one will cost you. So it is whom are you? It's good. And that's why now we're encouraging even some of you. Let us know that you're a member of a church. Is that okay? So that you can say, Mimi niwa Life Church. There's a day a bishop called me. Akiniuliza kuhusu a guy I used to mentor in town. Akaniuliza, do you know this man? He's interested in one of my daughters. So I had to tetea the guy. Nikasema, I'll take this formula. Kuja na mimi na date nani anakuanga PCA ni worship leader nini? Pigia, hello sir. This is Pastor T. Ushainisikia? Nimesikia. Wewe ni nani? Unafanya kazi pastor. You don't know what he has. Are you the pastor? How long has he been born again? What is his work like? What is your recommendation? I said, hey, tunafaa kuingia your level. Some of you don't know if you knew. Tutajuana. Amen. Kama mkiniambia happy birthday dad, nitakuwa na kujua kiroho na externally. Some of the people you need to bring them to us. Ukifikiria ni yako unamwambia leta, tuna Google kwa spirit, tunakwambia the Holy Ghost said run. Because with your eyes you may not see. Are we together? Yes, my spiritual father, when I told him I want to get married, he told me, who is she? Can I see her? Akamwona, akamwangalia, akaniambia, give me 2 weeks. Hey! So guess what? 2 weeks is Elisha. Hakuniongelesha. So after 3 weeks imeisha, nikaanza kumwambia, hi dad. Because I could not proceed. Because he told me this is a serious matter, I could not proceed. So I went there to go to his office and ask him, is there a problem with network in the spirit? I said, no, I didn't tell you. You have my blessing. Yeah. After he gave me the blessing, that's when I went to my parents. I didn't tell him, kuna mtu nimeona na tushaenda home. I asked him, do you think she's the one? So they did the Googling. So some of you need people who can Google in the spirit. And genuinely, are we together? And tell you this one, upper shikilia. Some people don't look like it now, but it's a matter of time. You'll be surprised. The other one is, I need to begin to learn this vessel. The other question that you need to ask very passionately, and this one is a serious one, is where are you from? Where are you from? This is not about location. It's about what's your past like. In this, where are you from? You need to interrogate what are your former relationships? Who are your exes? Why did you break up with them? Otherwise, you might be inheriting a problem. Hello? When we began church, I remember there's a time, when you begin a new church, many people come. Others come from other ministries. And others are very genuine. They are there because they want to grow. But there are some who rebelled in another ministry. And then they come. And the first thing, they begin to criticize where they came from. Are you getting it? And you hear they are saying nothing good about that man of God. And you know you have inherited a problem. If the man or the woman comes and all her exes are devils, you have to listen with 2 ears. Wewe hakuna pahali ushaikuwa na kamakosa. Wewe ni angel Gabriel. Wewe tu unapatananga na Lucifer. I don't know, even in natural setting. Have you ever met someone who everyone hates them? And you're like, how bad are you? Okay, how bad are these people? Everyone, you mean out of 5, kila mtu. Your mother hates you, your auntie, your brother. Kwani, you have to audit well. Don't give sympathy. That's a red flag. Otherwise, you might join that bandwagon. Maybe ni manipulative, ni controlling. Because there are people, if it's not their way, it's the highway. Okay. So you have to know, what are your former relationships? There's a time I took my wife to Cold Stone. You know Cold Stone? Hiyo utajua. Inauzanga ice cream baridi. Nikamnunulia 1 liter. Na nikaeka 1 liter hapo. And we discussed hot matters. Alikuwa anauliza swali na ice cream. Unakula ice cream hata usikii baridi? A minute. And I tell you, in our relationship, that was the most amazing interrogative meeting we ever had. And we didn't wait for 8 months. The moment we knew we want to be an item, the second week we had this conversation. And I'll tell you why. Sometimes you have portrayed this very holier than thou image, and then it is 8 months and you're like, hey, mazee nikimshow hii si nitakuwa nachoma mazee na vile anaonanga nikaa mimi na Angel Gabriel na Virgin Mary tuko hivi. So it's very key, so that as early as possible you are able to share what we call bonds in the closet. Are we together? This is what I said. I said I wouldn't want my wife to hear my stories from a stranger. Mambia, by the way, my name is Pastor T. Huyo ni yule anakuanga kwa pulpit. Now, meet Anthony. Nilimwanzia kutoka nursery as far as I could remember. Nikampeleka Kajani. Hey, we discussed many things. I shared I felt my life was on that table. Things even my own mother does not know. Because I knew this one, I will be entrusting my life with her for eternity. And I said it will be so bad. Yeah, actually meet Pasi. Apatane na mse tulikuwa naye kampo. Amwambie, unajua huyu boy ni nani wewe? Zile pombe tumekunywa na umza wewe. Mana 2000 hapo tu mpaka 2012 hapo. KBL hapo tulikuwa shareholders. Hata tungekufa mazishi ingekuwa sponsored na EABL. We have lost a serious client. So I opened my life, and I tell you, at that time she also shared everything. And at that moment it was, take it or leave it. This is me. And I'm not sharing so that you can have things to fight me in the future. I'm sharing because I'm not happy of it. Life has happened. The 31 years that I was alone, many things have happened. And I shared past relationships. I shared everything. This is the time. If you have a child, share. Are we together? See dhambi? See, kuna wewe ulikuwa na past. Si ndio? See, that's in your past. Sasa maybe katoto kanakuanga kishagi na mother. Wewe huku tunaonanga uko fiti. Then one day tuedo, unasikia nikwambia kitu na usijam. Ni promise hautajam. Tell your neighbor, be proud of every scar. Are we together? Because sometimes you hide things, and sometimes they are known, and the next question becomes, what else don't I know? Are we together? Kuna kitu niko tempted kuambia lakini adi where are you from? This is very key, okay? This is very key. When I was meeting my wife, there's a lady who had claimed that she has my child. And the case was so bad, but I told my wife. Are we together? I told her, by the way, this is me. There's this claim. Of course, a few things happened. The reason why I didn't want to tell you is because it's an ongoing, it's a case that never ended, but it's gonna end soon. Are we together? Now you know I say discipleship is you. Open your scars. And so before I got married, I told her, by the way, there's this claim. And whatever happened at that time, it happened in a phase that I was in a heartbreak. So what I did, it was not even dating. It's the way you are so hurting and you feel like you want to revenge. And in that vengeance, you fall in sin. And then by the time you're coming back, someone comes and says, this happened and this is your child. Now you see how Noma's going to kuambia. So, okay, the whole thing is, this should not change how you view me or anything. But I think I'm this one guy who will never try to look this perfect, knowing that these are scars of things we went through. Was it easy to tell her? No, it was a claim. DNA was done. I'm not the father. But the claim still continued to a point where by now it became a court case. Are you getting it? So mukiona kwa magazeti sasa silimwambia. But God is fighting for us. Are we together? But this is what I said, by the way, and I told my wife, if this is my child, if I'm going to marry you, we have to take care of her, of him. If this is not, then I'm not involved. And this was my stand. If it will affect my faith for doing the right thing, I'd rather do the right thing than look perfect outside. Changing lives of men and your very own is dying. Are you getting it? So, and I know we live in a time where it's very critical. So I was very open. Now that's what I'm telling you, we took Cold Stone. Because we had to share. She also had a part of the story and she shared. And I made a decision. I said, I know who you are and I know where you come from. You know who I am. You know where I come from. And this is it. And I tell you, these things will come. Jesus. Staying for 30 years alone, many messes happen, many things happen. It's not that I'm happy about them, but I was in that level of saying, get to know who I am. Before I became a preacher, I had a life. And this life was not a life I celebrate. This is exactly how it was. Sasa naona mnaniangalia na huruma. Watu wa Mungu. We don't preach from perfection. Some of us, mkiona vile tunaomba, is because we know the grace of God. Are we together? We know that if God was not by our side, we will be dead. The second thing you need to get is family patterns. Who are your people? Iniquity, patterns, curses. Begin to interrogate. Why? You will get connected to that family, willingly or unwillingly. And this is what now begins to give, what do I call it? This is what begins to give life. And it begins to give, how do I explain it? It gives life and it gives purpose to your marriage. When you know you come from a polygamous home, you already know there is a spirit of polygamy. When you know you come from a home where witchcraft has thrived, you know there are altars you are dealing with. And this is not about her or him. Now this will be about the two of you. This is what begins to give purpose of even the wedding theme and wedding colors. That you know, all of us come from backgrounds. He didn't choose, I didn't choose, and so, am I losing members? And so, and so you begin to get, okay, we'll be finishing in a few. You begin to get that this is the place. Am I speaking to anyone? So that you know what to pray for, what to pray against. There are things you look even and you discover, hey, in this house, all women are widowed. If you marry there, I tell you, you have to pray that that pattern will be cut so that you will not die before your time. This is now the spiritual interrogation, family. There's also the question of spirituality. Spirituality. What is your walk? How is your walk? What are your encounters? Some of us have even gone to witches. So how deep have you been in these spiritual matters? The things you've done. There's also the place of finances. Jesus. Unaweza marry mtu ustukia kona deni ya fuliza. Bona tumiango wedding contribution ikisetlingi fuliza. Bona sipe sana. And this is real because the day you get married, one of the things is that the loans will become yours. So you need to understand the personal background financially. Are we together? This is not to look at how much he has or anything. It's just to see, because someone could be in debt. Na amekuangalia hivi akona, you are like a way out. And so hesabu zake ni vile atatoka kwa de. We've heard about our sisters being married to some Nigerian brothers who all they think is how they will survive in Kenya. And can I be real with you? The Nigerian government is very lenient on their own because they send money back home. You saw one of them being deported, Chinedu. And he said, I'm a prince in my land. And he was on very serious felony of drugs. And when he landed, nothing happened to him. Because for them, they see there are people in our nation or other nations as economic wellness. When you work in Kenya, you send money to your people. So a lot of money goes there. So a Nigerian brother does, and I'm not saying Nigerians are bad, don't get me wrong. Even one of the guy in the highest office, the daughter is married to one. Are we together? But there are some of them who are crooks, and we must be real. Watu wa Githurai nazima man, si mnajua? Yeah. I know ladies who've lost money. They come, they go to your home, you never know where they live. They are always in a brotherhood. They are always dressing well. They begin to tell you, no, I don't have anyone to put my money. They get your account and they become over romantic. You look at your Kenyan brothers, I don't know, these guys, their voice, their tone is very intimidating. Ogama, sister, you look beautiful now. Look at you now, and here a Kenyan brother is telling you, I'm still in the race like Paul Moy. You know, and you're like, Jesus. And I'm not saying all of them are bad. Don't get me wrong. Are we together? We can't profile a community. But I'm just saying we've had instances and cases, some that are very, so that you need to know, finances. How do you make your money? Yes, you have all this. You're driving a V8 at 25. Who does that? You could find yourself in a serious, syndicate. No one's kuniambia pasi. Ujamani big fish. Tumombea okoke. Taifi yake. Umeomoka. Nuna deal na mtu wa wash. Even as a lady, we must ask. You don't go to job. Lakini ile luku napiga. Atasiwenya tunaenda job atupigi. So tuambie siri ya urembo. Na pale unaishi hakuna mtu anajua. Lakini tunasikia maprado ndio zinabishananga hapo kwa paki. Kukua chacha mwezi ni enjoy. Kuna socialite alisemanga, me I'm very spiritual. Even I told my pastor. Nikasema okay. Nikasema ni vizuri yako na pastor. Lakini hiyo tithe siwezi kula. Hiyo si mzuri. Yote unanunuanga kuku unakata na fork inaruka. Mungu anakuambia this is not holy dealings. Unaenda kuweka chumvi na mwagika yote. Mungu anakuambia hiyo tithe wachana nayo. It is not holy. Are we together? There's also past events. When you're dealing with a person, get to know their past events. Past events. There's a lady who got married, and during her honeymoon, she walked out. And walked out permanently. Because she was a victim of rape. So when they got in that room, the former images came back. And a rage came back. And she abandoned that marriage. It's good to get to know where people are coming from. Are we together? If someone was raped when they were young, there are few things they are dealing with. If someone grew and was raised by a single mother, or raised by a stepmother who was abusive, or was raised by an abusive father. Some fathers are stepfathers who all their life they wanted to sleep with you. That person has security issues. So this is real baggage. That's why you need to know past events, both good and bad, because some of them are very memorable. And you need to celebrate them. Maybe a memorial of his father. That's an event that is very dear. And guess what? If you look like you're so concerned with that person, and you're like, a night before you send a message and say, hi dear, I know tomorrow is dad's memorial, what are you planning? That guy will feel, or the girl will feel, wow, no one cares to this level. See, unaona ameweka dad, we still miss you. Unamwambia likewise. So it's very key, because events are personal. Are you getting me? Events, some are scary, some will need you. And I'm telling you, some of these things is where now, especially when you're talking about where are you from, also the question of that background. Like when I married my wife came a little bit from a broken home. So I knew I'm going to be a husband and also be a father and become a friend. 3 things. So was it her fault? No. How did I discover? My wife will cook food and serve me all the fresh food, and she will go to the fridge and take a buffet. And I was like, why are we not taking this fresh? Then I began now to interrogate the background. And I was like, this is something in the background. So I had to be her friend and to be her husband. And to tell her, no, we are eating this one. Because even in some homes, you grew like you're a nobody. And now here you are married and you treat yourself like a nobody. And the other person must be so sure. You are raised by a single mother. You never saw your mother receive orders from a man. And here is a man saying, shati yangu ijapigwa pasi, and you're like, hey boss, mimi hata mamangu hajainiambia hivyo. Na huyu jamaa ako zile, yeye amegrow akiona mother akifanya vitu zingine na na feel ni common sense. So this lady is an iron lady. Are we together? And that's why when you date, get these details, because they will help you. You are not marrying someone that is complete. So these things will help you understand. Some of them grew from an abusive father. You marry a man who saw his father abuse the mother, calling them names. Some Kikuyu names are very bad. You know those names? You know those names? You can't even call your mom that name. And this guy, you sense he's arrogant. Hata vile amekaa. Hakuna siku ashai kuita babe. You know, there's a man of God who was dating. Alafu, the girl came and called him in public. Babe, kwambia, mimi usikai niita hivyo. Mimi naita kwa Johana, mimi. I want to assure you, he's still single up to date. But again, we discovered background, he was radical. For him, I think he was an orphan. So he didn't see anything. He was marrying because people marry, and he was under pressure. So all these things he didn't understand. So tell your neighbor, this background is very key. Tell that neighbor, interrogate. Because that person is unique. Are we together? Some of you, you'll have to be the mother and the wife. This guy grew without a mother. You will mother the guy and become a wife. Some of you, wewe ni firstborn ama lastborn. Una deal na boy kwao kwote ni madame, na yeye ndio lastborn. Hajui hata kuosha kijiko. Aligrow akitango kababa. Na wewe ni firstborn kwenyu, responsibilities zilianza after form 4. Huyu kababa ako job na bado anaishi kwa mother. And in every step 5 words lazima onge kuhusu mom. Unasikia kumwambia, hey dude, grow up. Lakini kakiduka nakwambia huni la. Ama mshikane ma last born wawili. Wewe una imagine hiyo? Ile kuchoka iko kwa hiyo nyumba. Akiosha kijiko. So am I speaking? They may look very obvious, but I know it's helping someone. Are we together? It's very key. Like for me, my wife is a firstborn, and all the others that follow are boys. And they obey her, and they used to obey her. So their first days in our marriage, I used to tell my wife, I'm your husband. Because she would wake up and organize the house. Wewe unafanya hii na hii na hii na hii na hii, mimi nitafanya hii na hii na hii na hii, alafu ni sawa. Then she will come and supervise. Aufanyi vile nilikuambia. Hii na namwambia aya. Bwana asifiwe sana. Unajua hapo kuna karoho kanaweza anza kufufuka. Kanaanza kukuambia nazini kudharauliwa. Zile honi tulipiga kwao. So and we had to agree. So anytime alikuwa ananipanga hivyo namwambia sawa babes. Akumbuka ya by then nimeolewa. And I also had my weaknesses. Are we together? So so as we're living together, I knew where she was coming from, and there were boys behind her. Me, I grew in a boys' school. So me mambo ya kuappreciate sijui na kapoa, si hatujui. Boy tunaambia mzee, buda umedunga. Ai, ni ngumu. Naangalia na mzee namwambia, hiyo kiatu ni mbaya. So my wife will go, ametoka ananiuliza how do I look? Mimi namwangalia namwambia, si ni vile tu uko na kajana, kuna kitu ime hapa. Namwambia, hauja notice nime make nywele. Namwambia, hii ndio uliona kwa hizo zote. And she's like, You don't talk to women like that. Mwambie lakini si ni ukweli, hii forehead imetokea sana. Nini. Anyway inakaa poa. Na naendelea coach movie. Then unastukia umekasirikiwa 2 weeks unashindwa kwa nini nimefanya? Si nilisema vile na feel kwa roho yangu. So nikamwambia babes, mimi nimegrow ya boy school. Sisi mambo ya kukanika una sijui mushi we didn't have. So slowly I'm slowly learning. Watu wa boy school huu. Jehovah. You also need to interrogate what I call crime records in those files. Are we together? Unaweza marry mtu wa ex committee. Usikia anafuatango na CID. Wewe hujui ni nani ulioa. So it's good also to check on crime records, who are you and all that. Sawa. Where are you going? This is the language of vision, purpose and destiny. And in this, where are you going? In this, be aware of a person that is in fantasy. Fantasy. Mtu anaanza kukuambia one day mimi nitabuy KICC. Na hiyo conversation mnaihave kwa kibanda. That's fantasy. Be aware of someone who forever lives in hope. All his things are in the future. Siku moja mnakuja chacha na una magari unasikia hii ndo nitabuy, hii hapa hii ndo nitanunua. Hopeful. Be careful of a person who all his life is wishful. Masa ningepata mita. Nikaekelea 50 bob betika tu nitoke na hiyo mita 10. Tumeomoka. MCA tu akaniona hivi anipatie hiyo basari. Wishful. And I tell you, there are people who you've stayed with them for long and you are living in a wishful status. Be sensitive for a person who is faithful. When I mean faithful, is a person all his conversations are full of faith, no action. Faith is not bad, but there is a level of foolish faith. Hakuna vile utalala kwa nyumba unawatchingi Netflix na series. Alafu naambia wife, mimi ile faith niko nayo. Mita zitanipata hapa. Bible inasema wealthy ama wicked inakujanga hapa. Wewe ngoja. Run. There are many people suffering because of faith that is not biblical. Are you getting it? Be careful of a person again who is too careful. Life is about risks. Too careful. Be careful. These 5 people are very key. Fantasy, hopeful, wishful, faithful, and too careful. Faithful here is a person who is in an unrealistic faith that is not biblical. Have you ever met them? Watu wakupossess kila kitu. Yeah? Because there are people today, 5 years down the line in marriage, nothing has ever changed, but the man still has big talk. Na kukriticize kila mtu. Prado ya white si poa. White na matope ya limuru. Prado ya white si poa. Nakwambia Prado poa. Prado kwanza TXZ ya black, alafu unaipiga marims za silver. Hakuna gari poa kayo. Lakini babes nakwambia, mimi hata Prado siwezi buy. Range Rover 2019 model, ona. Hii ndio God anatupea. Na mko bed sitter. Huyo ni mtu unafaa kumuita nyuma ya tent. Mwambie boss, wachana na range. Wachana na Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Finally, the final question you need to ask is, what can you do? What are your abilities? What are your talents? What are your hobbies? What can you do? What are your abilities? What are your talents? What are your hobbies? Are we together? Yes. It's good to know. Usionange mtu anasoma books, unaona kama ni boring. Maybe that's what he loves doing. He's just an enthusiast. Unaonanga tu mtu anapenda nature. Abilities. So this will be among the last questions. Are we together? Are we together? And the other thing I forgot is, the moment you get close to your marriage, or even this time of dating, We are seeing many things happening today. And we are raising a very sick generation. It's always key to have a conversation on what are some of your sexual fantasies. But hiyo ni wakati umejua, and you don't have that conversation to have sex. Are you getting me? That one you ask around 2 weeks to your wedding. Because there is a lady who dated a gay guy. And the lady was very happy. This is a gentleman. The guy never hugged him. Ilikuanga na salamu za kanisa. Alikuwa hai. Oh, Charlie. And then the guy used to hang around very to handsome boys. And you know, as a lady, you are comfortable when your man is with some young man, and it was like his mentorship. And it was like, wow. The day they got married, the lady found some men in that house. And the guy said, I've always wanted to have a sexual orgy in my wedding. Now, umetoka kanisa. Discover uli marry gay. So, bwana asifiwe sana. I know some of these things we don't like talking them in church. And please, listen to me with 2 ears. I'm not saying you begin to ask this question on day 3. And then open a conversation of sexuality. I'm just saying, the moment you know this thing is serious, it's good to sit that person down and ask them. Otherwise, you might be marrying a pervert. Some people have been watching pornography from class 4. They are perverts. Hello? Na unauliza na kaukali. Are we together? Yes. And you put your demands very clear and say, this for me, no. I know we need to enjoy sex in marriage, but these ones, no. Because there are many mad people even in church. Am I speaking to anyone? Okay? But remember, it's here day 3. Nisikia pa meanza ku sex chat. I always see in the spirit. So you cannot hide. And I'm not threatening. Mungu anaweza niletea WhatsApp conversation saa 9 usiku. Nione jemo How are you? Oh, you are in bed. What are you wearing? My friend. Are you a dorm prefect to inspect how men are sleeping?